you're right, because we mentioned it, I think last year. If everybody goes off the ESPN Top 300 or the CBS Top 300, everybody is using the same list and the same rankings and making the same choices. So clearly, everybody doesn't win every year. So obviously, it's the people that think outside the box and do the research that tend to do better. Because for the most part, I would say, and there's no scientific percentage to this, but I would say 75% of people that play fantasy football in the casual, at least the casual people, that's how they go off of. They go off the ESPN suggestions and the ratings and all of that stuff.
But yeah, last year, ESPN, Yahoo, Sports Illustrated, they all had, CBS Sports, they all had Adrian Peterson as the number one player. Everyone needed to take Adrian Peterson first. I went out on a limb, I did 10 bold predictions, and one of them was Adrian Peterson would not be among the top 5 fantasy running backs. I was going out on a limb on that, and I gave reasons why I thought that would happen. It wasn't just throwing a dart at the board. It turned out he was the 7th best running back when you look at his stats. Even if he had played in the games that he missed, he still would have been around 6th. So, anyone who had the number one pick and listened to ESPN and all those guys, they blindly took the 7th best running back and roughly the 12th best player in that draft. Who with the number one pick would want to take the 12th best player? So if people are looking outside of their standard ranking and actually doing the research and making discoveries on their own, they're getting more value for their draft picks, which means that they are getting an edge on their opponents every single round of the draft.
And all of this, by the way, comes with the disclaimer that no matter how much research you do, no matter what kind of draft board you put up, even if you do like BJ here, there is no guarantee that the lady in the cubicle down the hall who picked all of her players based on the uniforms that they wear and the color of the mascot, there's no guarantee that she doesn't win your league, because sometimes that's just the way it works and it's not fair. But you give yourself more of a chance when you do the research.
You do, and you don't know if the person down in the cubicle down at the end of the hall is actually not doing work and spending time in fantasy sports. So
don't do that. I don't recommend that.
But yeah, it can happen. Luck plays a big part in it, and you can do all the research in the world, and your top 2 players go down with injuries in the first 3 weeks. That happened to a guy in our league, Doug Martin, and Julio Jones went down. He was done. He still finished in the semifinals. He lost in the semis in the playoffs. He did everything he could, but he couldn't overcome those catastrophic injuries. So you do everything you can, and then a lot of it, at the end of the day, you're right, it's still luck.
And like you mentioned Trent Richardson last year, there were some people that went in with him and thought, okay, he's going to run the ball with this offense, and in 2 weeks he's traded, and he didn't really ever get a chance to catch back up, and so that was a wasted high draft pick there for people. You know what?
That's right.
One last thing. Well, we can get into this next week, but we'll probably have some clarity on this, but a lot of people, and this is why I'm surprised with people that already did their drafts, is I feel bad for people in a Josh Gordon type situation. Do you, especially if you drafted before the decision comes out next week, do you risk taking him early because he's worth it if he's going to play, but is he going to play? Because some people may have taken him thinking, well, I'll get him for the last 8 games of the season, but if the whole year comes down, you may have just wasted a top or a high draft pick on a guy that doesn't play for you at all. That's why we made our draft literally 2 days before the season starts. We wanted to make it as fair as possible there's nothing worse than if that happens and somebody would have drafted him and the next day he gets out for the whole season and somebody spent, say, a second-round pick on him. That kind of ruins the integrity of the league. So that's why we pushed ours off as late as possible.
That's smart. You get the most information there, and last-minute injuries, all those things that can affect players down the stretch. Everyone starts with a clean slate. Everyone starts with the same information. So you're right. We can talk about it more next week. But Gordon is a risky play. Any way you look at it, and I know it's going really much earlier in the 6th or 7th round in the draft that I've seen in terms of his average draft position, because people are realizing that they're willing to give up a middle-round pick. But if you give up an early round pick, what you're saying is, I don't want Des Bryant. I don't want Antonio Brown. I don't want Giovanni Bernard. I want Josh Gordon. And it's hard for people to make that decision when they know they're probably going to get injury-free 16 weeks out of those other guys, and at best, 8 out of Gordon.
at best. And you know what? We'll talk about him. We'll probably have some clarity. Next week, let's do kind of top 5, top 3, or whatever. We'll go around all the key positions, and we'll kind of do the top guys everywhere. And you can go out on a limb. Let me know who you're looking for big stuff for.
Oh, I'm going out on a limb.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. And then that'll be it. And then we will be into the regular season the week after that. So got a lot to get into next week and get everybody ready for their drafts.
Nice. Well, good luck. Cut in, J-Rock, and we'll talk to you next week.
And you know what, BJ? That's the other thing. If you're up for it, once we do our draft the first week of the season, I'll send it to you, and I'll have you break it down like you did last year, if you'd like.
I'd love to do that. I had a terrible breakdown last. I did not make very accurate predictions with your draft, with your breakdown. And part of that is I have no idea how people are going to change their teams as the season goes, but based purely on the draft, I'll be happy to give an assessment.
Absolutely. I thought that was kind of the fun part, and then we came back and revisited it at the end of the season as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to this, BJ, every Thursday, right around 1:30-ish. I'll just throw the ish out there. Right around 1:30, sometimes a few before, sometimes a few after. BJ's going to be with us. We'll go through the fantasy football season together, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming back on board.
Absolutely. Same here, Jared. Always enjoy it. Take care.
And people can tweet you on Twitter at BJ Rudell. It's that easy. And do you have any website you want to plug on your way out?
Fantasy Football for Winners is the Facebook blog that I do. It's on Facebook, Fantasy Football for Winners. It's got about almost 1,000 likes, and I post things pretty much every day, including the bold predictions that kind of separate the winners from the also-rans.
There we go. Fantasy Football for Winners on Facebook and on Twitter at BJ Rudell. BJ, we'll catch up next Thursday.
Take care, Garrett.
All right, you too. My man, the guru of the Sports Fix and the author of Fantasy Football for Winners. All right, I've got some updates on the Tribe coming up when we come back. Mentioned it earlier. A couple of Steelers busted on the road on their way to the game. We'll update all of that. We'll wrap things up, set the stage for tomorrow, and so much more. Don't go anywhere. Final segment of the Sports Fix coming up next.
I go work like a boxer, train the brain and aim to outfox you like a punch.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Throwing you the best sports commentary in town. The Sports Fix.
It's an addiction. The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Indians fans, GV Art and Design has unleashed their new baseball collection. This summer, you've got to have one of the hottest baseball shirts available. GVArtwork.com, bringing it full force to the plate for baseball season this year. Whether you check them out online, GVArtwork.com, use the sales code FIX10, FIX10 to save 10% on your total purchase. Whether you go to their store in Lakewood, check them out at the Cleveland Indians team shops, and so much more. GV Art and Design. It's not just a shirt, it's a statement.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck, home of the low price tire guarantee. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Back in 1990, when I joined Herb in the booth, you could say that first game was when I became a lifelong Tribe fan. Something about Cleveland made us want to stay and call it our home, raise our family here. I can promise you one thing, home or on the road, I feel what you folks feel, what you feel every game. Cleveland fans are passionate and pretty vocal. I respect that. This is our team. This is our town. This is a Tribe town.
Hey, this is Alonzo G. You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix, final segment of the show as we wrap things up across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Thank you guys so much for being with us another day. Thanks to everybody for being with us. I mean, not just you guys listening along, of course, keeping this train rolling, but we had a loaded slate of guests today, a great show. My man, the BSK Kendall Lewis, kicking off his weekly segment every Thursday. Thursday's a perfect kind of place for him to fit in during the week because we can talk about the remnants of what happened the week before. He's kind of right there to give you the first look ahead towards what's coming that weekend. And as you can hear, not only are him and I, we're kind of simpatico as far as our opinions on a lot of things, and he's old school like I am, but he brings a different vibe to things, and I really enjoyed our conversation. And I've gotten a lot of feedback here. Apparently, a lot of you guys did too. So, Kendall, every Thursday, 12:15, right here on the show. Of course, Mike Brandenberry with his usual slot, talking some Tribe. Speaking of, Indians I believe they're in the fourth inning here as that game continues on. Corey Kluber, 3 innings, no runs, 3 Ks. He is now past 200 strikeouts. Matter of fact, I believe the last person to notch 200 strikeouts in a season was CeCe. He becomes the 8th Indians pitcher in history to strike out 200 in a season. Thanks to my man Bruce for that in the chat room. And the game rolls on. Still scoreless at the last update I had there. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Kluber rolling on, and it looks like facing Joe Mauer here now. So tomorrow we'll be able to talk about the back end of this, whatever happens with this game. Hopefully, I'm bringing a broom to the show with me tomorrow, and we're talking about sweeping the Twins right out of the Twin Cities as the Indians head home to face Houston for a big weekend series and hopefully keep that momentum going. Hopefully tomorrow we're talking about 8 of 10 for the Indians and got that wild card and division lead chopped down just a little bit. All right, guys. And, of course, BJ Rudell, too. Thank you to him for joining us. For those of you into fantasy football, BJ, every Thursday, 1:30, right here. He'll have your sits and your starts and your all of that you need each week. Get the tips right here just in time to set your lineups for Thursday Night Football. Thanks to all 3 of those guys for being with us here today. Couple of Steelers. By the way, I saw word apparently they're going to play. We mentioned it earlier. How ironic, by the way, that his name is LeGarrette Blount. But anyways, Le'Veon Bell, LeGarrette Blount both pulled over on the highway. I don't know. Were they heading to Philly? I don't know. But they were busted. I shouldn't laugh, but I always joke about this. I remember San Antonio driving around Three Rivers, or maybe it was Heinz Field, whatever, driving around the stadium with blunts rolled in his ashtray, just smoking. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even making judgments. Dude, your house, you can go anywhere you want. Why are you driving around doing this? And anyways, so here these guys were pulled over yesterday afternoon around 1:30. Cops pulled up next to him, saw the smoke just billowing out apparently of the vehicle. It was like a Cheech and Chong spot almost. It was very obvious, and a strong odor of marijuana is what the police officer said. They pulled him over, found 20 grams of marijuana in a bag inside the car, and I don't know why, but all 3 people in the car, it was Bell, Blount, and a female passenger, all claimed that it was their marijuana. They took Bell to the hospital, not only charged with possession, they drew blood, and he is going to be charged with driving under the influence of marijuana. All the charges misdemeanors. It happened just before the Steelers were scheduled to head out for the game. Bell didn't fly on the plane. He did drive or fly, however, on his own, got to Philly, and it looks like both of those guys, according to sources, are going to play in tonight's game, but expect suspensions, and that'll perhaps affect the Browns as they head into week 1 of the season, taking on the Steelers. But I just don't get that. Like, I don't get it. I don't even care that they're from Pittsburgh. I'm not making fun of them for being Steelers or anything. I don't get 2 athletes who, if you want to smoke pot, that's cool. That's your thing. Like, and you can get mad at me for saying that or not. Like, you go do your thing. But you're going to go buy a sack. You get yourself a big bag here. You went and picked up an ounce or whatever you got. Okay, you got your boy, you got your girl with you. You're driving the hot Camaro. You got smoke billowing out the windows. I mean, that's a recipe for stupidity and failure. Why not? If you're gonna smoke with your boy and your girl, pick them up, pick up your bag, go to the house. Go sit at your house and do whatever you're gonna do. But why make yourself a driving target? And of course, you can make the Steelers jokes now all you want with the intelligence, but I've seen Browns players and I've seen every other league have players that do that stupidity too. I never get that level of the risk and the stupidity of it. Like, you know, sometimes they get caught up in things that are too blown out of proportion, that are, you know, out of their control. But when you screw up the stupid little things that are in your control, like, those things drive me nuts. Like, okay, John McMullen talks about it all the time. The math, basically